My name's Emma Leslie. I'm the director of the Centre for Peace and Conflict Studies, which is a Cambodian NGO, but we work on peace processes across the Asia region, and we also offer postgraduate education for practitioners. But more than what we do is who we are, and we're a values-driven organisation. So our values are about having courage to try new things and to look at different ways of addressing violence. Excellence, trying to always do better and make it right and great, and to be really servants of peace building. But also trust. Trust is how we have with each other, but also to trust ourselves and trust those that we work with. And continued learning, because we think that we don't have all the answers and we still have a lot more to learn. The first thing is that we really need to understand that almost all physical violence comes from a deep structural violence. And in any of those countries or the conflicts that are within them, they are not only local conflicts or national conflicts, but also conflicts perpetuated by a global system, geopolitical system. So first and foremost, we can't take them in isolation. Second is that I think these are conflicts that have manifested over many decades and will take some time to resolve. They have political solutions, but also cultural solutions, and we need to look at how we engage more creatively and effectively with people. But we also need to not be afraid of complexity. And these conflicts, as they continue over longer periods of time, become increasingly complex. And so often the actors within them shake their heads and say, it's so hard, it's so complicated. But that's okay, we can engage that and we can work with the system of the conflict and to start right where we are. And that creates the possibility of a new vision and a new hope as we say, okay, this is where we are, this is where we've come from, but there's a way out of this. And I think we've seen that in countries like Cambodia that had experienced 40 years of violence, and today is relatively peaceful, still with some issues, but have moved beyond a period of civil war, genocide and Western bombing. Obviously, local communities have extraordinary resilience to go the distance and a capacity to survive. And I think we've seen that in situations like refugee and IDP communities up and down the eastern border of Myanmar, where they managed over many decades of conflict to be able to continue to teach their children, feed themselves, engage with each other, build community, even while they've been on the move. So one is to acknowledge the resilience of local communities, but the second is to challenge even the notion of local, because I think in this day and age, most communities have Facebook access, some kind of internet access. The increasing telecommunications gives them the possibility to have telephones and to connect into the rest of the world system. So these days, local is global. Young people in those communities can see what the world is offering them. Young Cambodians today are asking questions about their own political system and why it doesn't deliver to them what the rest of the world has. It raises for them questions of social injustice and how they can too be a part of this world system. So I think local communities are not so local anymore, they are interconnected, and I think that's something we're still learning to work with and engage with. First and foremost, we need humble partnerships. We need to come into relationships with each other that are based on cultural humility, a desire to see each other, really see each other, human dignity, to really listen more instead of talking and teaching and bringing frameworks and bringing tools and ideas at each other, but really learning from one another. I think this kind of approach in partnerships will lead us down the path of more homegrown solutions, more transformative types of justice which focus on restoring relationships and healing as opposed to necessarily judicial or retributive types of justice. I think also the kinds of partnerships we need now is all embracing. We need to see the possibility of working with an ambassador, with a soldier, with a teacher, with an older person and a younger person, with a parliamentarian and a civil society organisation, all working together towards a shared vision of the future. And while we analyse the root causes of conflict and the complexity of conflict, we need to be giving people a vision that's possible and to work towards. And I think that's something we've lacked in the past, is a future-focused analysis, a future way of thinking that this doesn't have to be the status quo forever. We have other possibilities and we can be different. I think it's so important that we as peace builders ask ourselves, what is our part in this mess? And it's very easy right now to be blaming political leaders and blaming governments and blaming donors and blaming security forces and all the rest. That's okay, we still need to have critical engagement with all of those actors, but we also need to be asking and reflecting on ourselves and how have we not progressed and stepped up and been a part of the way forward. So I think a forum like this gives us that kind of reflection space.